I've heard you talk about the number of students who are able to finish college here with no debt.
Right.
Mention that, please.
Thank you, Pat, for asking that question. Year in and year out, somewhere close to 50%. 50%. And that is because we counsel them, don't take those loans. When you're a student, you have to accept or decline. Everyone has to fill out one of those free financial aid documents. And so, but as a condition of that, if you're getting a Pell Grant or whatever, you have to either accept or decline. And it's so easy to accept, when you're young and say, oh, there's a couple $1,000. But we encourage them, we counsel them, don't do that. Look for ways. Our RSU Foundation, which this community supports, is right at $1 million a year now of awards. That has nothing to do with state or federal aid. The Cherokees, great tribal support, and they give over $2,000 a semester to go to school anywhere to full-time. But the private dollars is in addition to all the state, federal, and tribal, or corporate. Sometimes you'll get a Coca-Cola scholarship or you'll get a Williams Company scholarship. So we couldn't do that without our foundation. But to your point, most years it's about 50% of the students who go to school here graduate. And some of our students take 8 years. And I have a hard time explaining that sometimes. But the easiest way to explain it, you have to take 15 credit hours a semester if you're going to graduate in 4 years. And you have to be on your toes to make sure that all the classes line up. And if there's a Comp 1 or a Comp 2, you can't take Comp 2 without Comp 1 unless you're really bright. So you have to be on your toes, and we try to do our best. But we have a really good 6-year and 8-year. Yes, we have students that graduate in 4 years, some in 5, but we have a really good 8-year graduation rate because they can only take 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, because they're working adults. In many cases, they're single adults, and they have to get everyone else's schedule worked out before they can work theirs out. They have to get the soccer schedule worked out. They have to get the work schedule. They have to get the spouse's schedule, everything worked out, and before they can enroll. So, but thank you for mentioning that. If you do go to school here and have to have some debt, the average debt that we have upon graduation, it fluctuates between $15,000 and $19,000.
Oh,
and so,
amazing.
I tell people, and I'd have to calculate this out, but that's about 1/8 of a new Ford pickup, or about a third of a new bass boat. That it just we never think about what a bass boat or a new pickup cost, or any of the things that's just escalated. But we believe that we are a bargain. We've got now 23 years worth of data that shows that you can go to work or you can get into graduate school. And that's what I tell moms and dads. You need to ask this question: can my son or daughter or grandkids get a job when they leave RSU, or can they get into graduate school? We've got 23 years worth of data now to show the number of kids, number of graduates we put into medical school, to other professional schools. A master's degree in psychology. There are just many of them. And we also have those records of where they go to work. We have environmental biologists that go to work for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. They go to work for GRDA. We have esports. We have game development. They go to work in any industry that you have to be really good with your fingers. Like any of these flight simulators, anything like that. You have to. We have one outstanding graduate that's a very senior position in Amazon HR department. He has a criminal justice major, but he also was a second lieutenant when he graduated here. And Amazon saw something there that they liked, and they hired him to help staff the Amazon Fulfillment Center and to hire people. He was so successful they just kept promoting him. So today, as a result of that one alum, we are now a school of choice for Amazon, and they'll pay for any of their workers to come to school here. So I always say alumni matter. You just look at alumni matter. You look at recently retired Keith Martin, who's been here for 30 years. He has been more of a force on getting young men and women jobs in business and industry with his background and his research and bats and burying beetles and so forth. But through one of his students working for U.S. Fish and Wildlife, we got a $1 million grant from some pipeline set aside from the Conservation Fund in New York. So we had great fun. These folks from New York went right upstairs to a table in the OMA, and we signed the documents, and they gave us $1 million to purchase some land that had been disrupted in another state by a pipeline. So you had to find land that had the same environmental concerns, because as a pipeline goes through there, they say, okay, you can do this, but you got to put up money in the Conservation Fund. So we found some land just south of Claremore, between here and Inola, and our good friend Don Brown sold us a great, wonderful piece of his ranch that we could have a research station. You could do anything on it except build on it. You can hunt on it, you can fish on it. So we have a research lab in the outskirts of Taiwan. Out the outskirts of Taiwan, we have a research facility because we have one student in the right place at U.S. Fish and Wildlife and said, I know a little school that does that. And Keith Martin was the one that was doing the research on burying beetles and bats and all of that. And then Don Brown, come full circle, was once a regent for Claremore Junior College.
I remember that.
So Don Brown graciously sold us probably the best part of his ranch. Now he's got a few more acres down there, but you can see Claremore from one of the vistas on that piece of ground that he sold us. There's also some lowlands and wetlands, but the power of alumni, I can only imagine is that old gospel song, what this place is going to look like after we have alumni 50 years, 100 years, and they're giving $100 million, or they're writing checks for $10 million. So